Dr. Hovind, I love your doctoral thesis. I've torn it to pieces with house and gaffle. I can't remember when I last pissed myself laughing. It's a good thing the thesis mopped the piss off the floor.
Welcome to part 25 of this read-through and peer review of Kent Hovind's doctoral dissertation, which was published on wikileaks.org on December the 9th, 2009. If you have not yet seen the previous installments in this series, then I recommend that you go back and see those first, as in this episode I will start off exactly where I left off in the last. In the last episode, Kent started telling us all about Thomas Huxley. He continues in this one. He continues. He, as in Thomas Huxley, said that if there is a God, it doesn't matter. God had no part in his life. Well, ain't that the truth? He was an English biologist and a writer. He taught that ethics and morals had also evolved. Yes, Kent, that's quite an easy one, really. If you're unethical and immoral, well, in the olden days, they used to come after you with pitchforks and spears. I suppose, though, now, they just lock you up. Don't they, Kent? However, if you are ethical and you are moral, there's a very good chance you're gonna get laid, and therefore you get to pass your genes on. But anyway, he even wrote a book in the 1800s called Evolution and Ethics. Kent, it wouldn't have been difficult to look up the actual publication date. You know, Kent, you only need to get hold of a modern-day copy and go to the front and it will tell you the date of first publication. Or was that too difficult? But anyway, he was very much a racist. Ah, yes, Kent, I was wondering when you'd get to that. There's nothing like calling someone a racist to denigrate their ideas. Unfortunately, I don't see how racism has got anything at all to do with evolution. But seeing as you're going to bring it up, I'd just like to point out that things were a little bit different back then in the Victorian era. In Huxley's time, slavery had only just been abolished, maybe 60, 70 years previously. In fact, Samuel Wilberforce, who Huxley famously debated at Oxford University in 1860, was the son of William Wilberforce, who championed the abolition of slavery in Britain. But I'll let you carry on. Evolution lends itself readily to racism, which can be seen by the following quotes from Darwin and Huxley. And of course, the Bible doesn't. Nope, it actually actively endorses it. A good portion of the Old Testament is all about genocide and wiping peoples and races off the face of the earth. Other parts detail how it is essential that the bloodline should be kept pure. But I'll continue with Kent's quotes. At some future period, not very distant, as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will most certainly exterminate and replace the savage races throughout the world. At the same time, the anthropomorphous apes ... will no doubt be exterminated. The break between man and his nearest allies will then be wider, for it will intervene between man in a more civilized state, as we may hope, even than the Caucasian, and some ape as low as a baboon, instead of as now between the Negro or Australian and the gorilla. Brackets, The Descent of Man. A. L. Burt and Co., 1874, page 178. Well done, Kent. You must have worked many hours in the dark with your pickaxe, with only the candle on your miner's helmet to retrieve that wonderful quote mine? It's such a shame that you don't include the rest of the paragraph to put that quote into context. I'll leave it to the interested viewer to go and look that one up in full. It's available on Wikiquotes and also talkorigins.org. Now on to Huxley. No rational man, cognizant of the facts, believes that the average Negro is the equal, still less the superior, of the white man. And if this be true, it is simply incredible that when all his disabilities are removed, and our prognathous relative has a fair field and no favour, as well as no oppressor, he will be able to compete successfully with his bigger-brained and smaller-jawed rival, in a contest which is to be carried on by thoughts and not by bites. Lay Sermons, Addresses and Reviews, Appleton, 1871, page 20. And Kent, that is an even better quote mine than the last one. Let me just continue where you left off. The highest places in the hierarchy of civilization will assuredly not be within the reach of our dusty cousins, though it is by no means necessary that they should be restricted to the lowest. But whatever the position of stable equilibrium into which the laws of social gravitation may bring the Negro, all responsibilities for the result will henceforth lie between nature and him. The white man may wash his hands of it, and the Caucasian conscience be void of reproach for evermore. And this, if we look to the bottom of the matter, is the real justification for the abolition policy. The doctrine of equal natural rights may be an illogical delusion. Emancipation may convert the slave from a well-fed animal into a pauperized man. Mankind may even have to do without cotton shirts, but all these evils must be faced. If the moral law that no human being can arbitrarily dominate over another without grievous damage to his own nature, be, as many think, as readily demonstrable by experiment as any physical truth, if this be true, no slavery can be abolished without a double emancipation, and the master will benefit by freedom more than the freed man. This quote mine is actually from Emancipation, Black and White, 1865, which was later published in Lay Sermons, Addresses and Reviews in 1861. And they were made a little over 30 years after the Abolition of Slavery Act, 1833, to put it in its right context. The comments relate to accepting many racist and sexist assumptions made in the context of rejecting oppressions based on racist and sexist arguments. Once again, this quote in full can be found on wikiquote.org and talkorigin.org. But Kent continues. Darwin's notion that the various races were at different evolutionary distances from the ape, with Negroes at the bottom and Caucasian at the top, was not unique to him, but rather was almost universal among evolutionary scientists of the 19th century. That, of course, is utter bullshit, as Darwin is actually referring to what we would now today call varieties, as opposed to what they called back then races. Anyway, notice Huxley's argument that blacks could not compete intellectually with the Caucasians under equal and fair condition. And notice how he says nothing of the kind when you actually hear the full quote. Racism started, or was greatly enhanced by Darwin and Thomas Huxley. Kent, go give Ray Comfort his banana back. Kent, are you forgetting that in the Holy Bible the Jews refer to themselves as God's chosen people, and therefore all other races are inferior? In fact, wasn't the Bible used to justify slavery? Aren't all black Africans descendants of Ham, and therefore should be subject to subjugation?